Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be finally the review for the last 4 episodes of The Boys, Season 2. I already reviewed the first 4 episodes earlier on, but it's taken me a little bit to get to the first 4. But similar to the first 4 episodes, I am not alone for this review. I am here with someone who has become a huge fan of this show, and, you know, similar to The Mandalorian, I just would not feel right to do this reviews of the show without him. So here he is again, FilmFan0599.
Hey, what's up, you guys? FilmFan0599 here again, and we're back. We're better than ever. We're back with the last 4 episodes of Season 2 of The Boys, Them Boys, all right? So, yeah, very excited to talk about these last few episodes.
Yes, so we are going to, so similar to our reviews for the first 4 episodes, we're not going like episode by episode. We're mainly just going to talk about the events that happened, what we thought of everything, you know, where we think things are headed into Season 3. I think we can say this for sure. Our perspective of this season is very different from how it was with the first 4 episodes, because the first 4 episodes we very much did enjoy. We loved a lot, but these 4 episodes really go in some very daring directions that I really wasn't expecting at all. There's a lot of stuff that I really loved seeing within this season, and I'm just really excited to see where they end up going. I think the first thing to really talk about, and something that I know you were a really big fan of, is, you know, we talked about this in the reviews for the first 4 episodes, is that one of the best things about this season is that it's been a lot more character driven, and because we get to see a lot more of these characters' backstories. But episode 6 revolves, well, there's a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of it revolves around the character of Frenchie. And I know coming out of this episode, you said that it was the best episode of the entire show. So I'm just going to give you a second to really rave about this and what you really loved about what they did with his backstory overall.
Yeah, at the time, I really thought this was the best episode of the whole show, because just the way that they go into detail about Frenchie's backstory, because we didn't really know too much. Like in season 1, there was hints about what happened with like Lamplighter and, you know, the grandchildren and stuff like that. There were like hints about it, and, you know, we know that's the reason why the team broke up in the first place. So we get more into detail about that in this episode. I really liked seeing that a lot. I like seeing how, you know, why Frenchie wasn't there that night, what was going on and stuff like that. I like seeing that, and added so much of a layer to the characters of both Frenchie and Lamplighter. I thought they did a really fantastic job with it. And honestly, like, I was like, damn, man, like, it just really hit me. I thought they did a really fantastic job with it, honestly. It was something I wasn't really expecting, and I thought they did an absolutely phenomenal job with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, kind of similar to Kimiko in the first few episodes, like, we knew it was coming eventually, but we didn't know it was going to come when it did. And it adds a lot more layers to Frenchie as a character, but it also gives him more of a reason to be in The Boys, because it's kind of like him making up for what he wasn't able to do with the grandchildren. Like, the grandchildren very much failed. They were caught. They went to jail. They all kind of went their separate ways. And now he's in The Boys, and his whole reasoning for this is kind of to make it up to those grandchildren. But it also gives us a very good look at Lamplighter, someone who is really down on his luck. He really doesn't have much of a purpose anymore. He's really just kind of doing this to help them out, but you really do get the sense that he doesn't really have a lot of faith in him left anymore. And I thought Lamplighter as a character was really interesting. I was really excited to see what they were going to do with him and how they were going to flesh him out more as a character. And I thought they did some really interesting stuff there for sure. I really enjoyed what we got with Lamplighter, but also what it meant for Huey, because Huey, it really shows how much Huey has developed as a character, because while Huey is usually someone that cares so much about people, Huey doesn't give a fuck about this guy. Like, he wants nothing to do with him. There are many moments where Huey is just really questioning a lot of what Lamplighter is doing when he's watching all of this soup porn, and you can just see that Huey is just appalled by him doing this. I just thought it was a really, really good moment for both of those characters, and I really liked what they ended up doing with Lamplighter for sure. I thought he ended up being a really interesting character, albeit a small character. He ended up being a lot smaller than I was expecting. I thought he was going to be like, you know, a big new lead or something, but of course he doesn't end up surviving past the 7th episode. But I liked what we were able to get with him, you know, at least for a couple episodes.
Yeah, I would agree. But unlike you, I didn't expect him to have too much of a big role, at least in this season. I wasn't expecting in the way that it happened, but
No.
I enjoyed Lamplighter for the stuff that we got with him. I thought he was a pretty interesting character, and I really liked seeing how he's just very much down on his luck ever since that day that happened, and like just seeing like basically him being at a low point, like a very, very, very low point. And I liked his interactions with Huey as well, because like you said, Huey just really just doesn't want anything to do with this guy. He's just so pissed off to be with this guy, and it's great. Like I think the interactions between the two of them are really something fantastic. Like the line when he goes like, "Let's go fuck the wife," consensually. Like there's just great things in there like that, and I enjoyed their chemistry a lot. I thought they were great, honestly. So I thought Lamplighter was a good addition for the episodes that he was a part of. I thought Sean Ashmore was really great in the world too. So I like the character a lot, honestly, you know, for the few episodes we got.
Yeah, I did too. I also really liked what it did for Mallory as a character, because it gave you more of a reason to care about her. We always knew there was something going on, but we get more of an idea in this episode that she just really wants to get revenge on Lamplighter. You know, it takes everything in her to not just like shoot him immediately. And I like that Frenchie basically tells her to like, you know, refrains her from doing that. And I like what we get for Mallory, because again, you get the sense that like these two, you know, you get the sense that like these two have had beef for a while. And so for her to put that aside, I think that's a really good thing for her character. And I liked how involved she became with things. I wasn't expecting for Mallory to be such a vital character, but I will say this right now, if she's not a main character by next season, I'll be very surprised, because she has a lot to do in these last few episodes, which again is not really something that I was expecting, but I really liked what we ended up getting from her. So I thought Lamplighter just really did a lot of interesting stuff. I thought he ended up being a really good character, and I thought he was a really good foil for, like I said, someone like Huey, for example. I thought overall he just did a lot of interesting stuff. Now, the other development that I really was not expecting is where they decide to go with the Homelander and Stormfront of it all, because I thought originally what they were doing was they were setting it up where Stormfront is going to be Homelander's biggest adversary. Like, this is someone that he's deathly terrified of, someone that brings out the worst in himself. But it's actually the other way around. It did start off that way, but toward the end of episode 5, these two start smashing, and they start like, you know, they start like having superhero sex, and they start wanting to take over the world, you know, to do all this like really disgusting Nazi shit. And it just reminds us that Homelander doesn't really care what he has to do, as long as he can remain in the spotlight and have his ego stroked. You know, that's all he really does care about. So while I was a little bit taken aback at first by the fact that you literally had a relationship between Homelander and Stormfront, I wasn't all that surprised, because Homelander is someone that thrives on, you know, him being this huge public figure. He wants to be seen as number one. He wants to be seen as the guy that is always in charge. He wants to be seen as someone that always is, you know, doing something that he can be seen as. He doesn't care what it is, but as long as he can be seen as like the big guy, you know, pretty much, that's all that matters to him. And I thought that this relationship was really interesting, because, I mean, as bad as Homelander is, Stormfront is way fucking worse. She is a Nazi. She's a racist. She's done all of this disgusting shit. And so for Homelander to be pulled in there, that was something that I really wasn't expecting at first at all, but it really did eventually make sense as things went on. What did you think of the very unlikely pairing between Homelander and Stormfront?
But I was because like you, I thought, well, I did say this to multiple people. There's only one or two ways this is gonna end between the two of them. Either he's gonna kill her or he's gonna fuck her, and he ended up doing the second thing. So, but like I wasn't all that surprised that because like I said, I figured it was only going to go one or two ways with them. So, and I thought it was just interesting because like you said, the only thing Homelander gives a shit about is being in the spotlight and being that public figure. Because not to jump too far ahead, but what Queen Maeve does, say to him, as long as the people are against you, that I'm satisfied, because that's the only thing you give a shit about is, having the people love you and, look at you as this, heroic figure. And it's really great. And I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought the way that was handled was actually really great. It was a lot better than I expected it to be. And, I honestly, I thought, their relationship, albeit fucked up, but was kind of interesting to watch at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. It was very interesting to watch, especially again at the end of episode 6 when she's really trying to get him on board. All the stuff that she's saying is so disgusting and nasty, but you can get the sense that Homelander doesn't really care what the cause is, as long as he has some kind of agency, as long as he's in charge. And again, it just says a lot about Homelander not wanting to show his vulnerability. He really is one of the most vulnerable characters out of everyone, but he just never actually shows it because of the fact that he wants to be seen as like this, this perfect, person who nothing bad ever happens to him. He's never affected by anything. He wants to be emotionally unscathed. Like, that's the kind of person that Homelander is. And I think we saw that more than ever through this pairing. And what we end up getting from those two, again, was very surprising. The way things take off so quickly, I really was not expecting to get there at all. But we can't talk about that stuff without getting more into Butcher and where they end up going with him as a character, because I think we can agree, out of all the characters this season, Butcher is the one that's absolutely changed the most. He goes through a very significant shift towards the end of this season, and that's something that I really did appreciate when it came to his character. What we end up getting with him in episode 5, with him, basically plotting out his retirement and him trying to rescue Becca, and it's not working. Again, his entire goal is all about reuniting with Becca. That's the one thing that matters the most to him. He will do whatever he can to make sure that it happens, and the lengths that he's willing to go this season are just insane. Episode 5, when he's held hostage, he doesn't care what he has to do as long as, he can be reunited with Becca. And the way things play out with Becca as well, I thought was really well done, because again, you get a little bit more of a peek inside Homelander and Ryan's relationship. And again, it's one of those things where Homelander knows what he wants Ryan to be, and Ryan isn't at all what Homelander wants him to be. So it's a very interesting sort of dynamic there. And the way that Becca is kind of defenseless in that situation, but she's trying to have a lot of agency. She's trying to do what she can to make sure that Ryan is cared for. It's very devastating to watch. And I thought it was very interesting the way that whole thing went down when it came to Homelander and Stormfront, and the way they try to almost turn Ryan against his mother. Again, it's something that we were expecting to see, but I think the fact that Ryan played such a vital role into things was not what I was really expecting, and I thought they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I did too. Like the way that they, and like I said, when we were talking about the first 4 episodes, I really like how Becca as a character has really just kind of just really, because, we've heard about her throughout the season. We saw like flashbacks and stuff like that. But really, she does come at the forefront as a character in the season. And, and really these last few episodes really, I think, drive that home. Honestly, and I really loved seeing that a lot. And I thought, the stuff that was happening with her, Ryan, Homelander, I thought was great, honestly, and just the way that things go with that, and the way that plays such a vital part, especially in the last episode, just the way things turn into a crash. I know we'll go more into detail with the last episode, but just the way things take a turn in that. And it's just so it's emotional, but it's great as well. And I really like seeing how Butcher, because I will admit, and we all it's on film. We can see. I was annoyed by Butcher at first in these first couple episodes. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" But then we see him growing more in the episodes. Like we see him grow and grow more in the episodes, which I appreciated a lot, honestly, and I really liked seeing that a lot. And by the end of it, I was like, "All right, I'm kind of, you're still a bit crazy, but I'm a bit back on board with you, So and I just think that was a great development, honestly. I thought, the way that they developed him throughout the season was really great, honestly. Really just building his character perfectly, honestly. I think I may agree with you on that I think no other character in this season really has grown as much as Butcher, to be honest.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that with the finale, but where they end up going with Butcher, I think, again, really does a great job of reiterating how similar to Homelander, Butcher is someone that doesn't like showing his vulnerability, and he eventually has to, which, again, we'll get into. But, again, all this stuff with Homelander and Stormfront, really interesting, but the more interesting side of it is the Maeve of it all, because Maeve ends up playing a very significant role into things, and where she's headed as a character, I am so excited for, because we've always kind of known that Maeve is in a very similar position to Starlight, where she doesn't really like what's going on, but she's kind of just had to put up with it because, well, Homelander is someone that she's constantly paired with. She's seen as the second in command. She's seen as someone that is kind of dominated by him. A lot of what she does is dependent on Homelander's success. But what if it's suddenly not anymore? What if there's a way for her to get out of that? So, of course, him revealing that she is lesbian at first has a lot of, ups and downs to it. On one hand, she gets to show who
bisexual.
Bisexual, has a lot of ups and downs to it, because on one hand, you get the sense that, like, yes, she gets to show who she is, but she also has that great line to Ashley's character, where you realize that a lot of this is just a put on. They're just doing this to make Vought look good. They're just doing this because they want Vought to look progressive. It's very similar. And I watched the after show. I don't know if you did, but there was a point where they talked about how it's very similar to how corporations will come out and praise people that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. Are they actually doing it because they care about it, or are they doing it because they will be canceled if they don't? And I think for Vought, it's something where they feel like they have to say something about it. They don't actually care that much about it. They just think, oh, this will make us look a certain way. This will make us look better. And again, it just says a lot about Vought as a company. And it's a really good parallel to other companies that we have that are very shady and are very corporate. They don't care that much about, who these people are. They care more about their brand. And for Maeve, they feel like if they're able to show, her being bisexual, even if it's done in an artificial manner, they'll just look better for it. And I thought it was a really interesting arc where she ended up going, for sure.
I think this was definitely one of my favorite arcs of the entire season, because when we do see that, when Homelander basically just fucking outs her like that, and she's like in fear because like she knows what's going to fucking happen now. And like it's very similar to how corporations want to like market this and stuff like that. It's like, okay, do you care, or are you just using this as a fucking marketing ploy? And it really does show in that, especially with Ashley. And one of my favorite things and one of my favorite lines in the entire season is just when Maeve is like, Ashley, can't you just be a fucking human being for once?
Yes. Such a good line.
And it's just really interesting. And also even the point of like bi erasing, which happens a lot when it comes to a lot of these things. I forgot her girlfriend's name, but she even goes like, Maeve is bi, right? And they're like, oh, but that's not marketable. We need to market her as a lesbian. Like, it's like just the commentary on some of these things. Like, I wouldn't have expected this of all fucking shows to actually make great commentary on this shit, but they did. And I really liked how they did that, honestly. And Maeve, who I liked as a character in the first season, honestly has become one of my favorite characters overall, because just the way that she 100%. Does develop in this entire season. Like, she's like, all right, I'm tired of this shit. I need to fucking make a stand in some way, you know, and we see that. And I think the way that she evolves throughout the season is really great. And I really loved it a lot. Her arc is easily one of my favorite arcs in the entire season. I think the way that they commentate on things like this, like, you know, like how corporations like try to market the LGBT community and stuff like that, I think was handled so well. And I think it's really interesting because it's like, it's just so painfully true. Honestly, I think they did a really fantastic job with that.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where The Boys has always done a really great job of kind of taking the idea of soups and applying that to, you know, political and social culture within the real world. And I think this is a really good example of that, what they end up doing with Maeve. But the more surprising element of her arc for me is where they end up going with her relationship with Elena. It pretty much crumbles very quickly here, mainly because Elena does get word of the plane crash that happened last season, and not so much the fact that Maeve couldn't really do any, you know, not so much the fact that it happened, it's more the fact that Maeve didn't really do as much to stop it. And this really triggers Elena. The fact that there was a little girl on there who was helpless and Maeve didn't try to help her or anything like that. And you can see that Maeve has a deep regret. She knows what she did was wrong, but at the same time, she couldn't have really done anything in that scenario because Homelander was so intent. And you kind of get the sense that Maeve is kind of done after this. She goes down a bit of a downward spiral after this moment. And it's a very quick moment. Like, it happens very quickly with Elena discovering this footage, but you get a sense that after this, the relation between those two is pretty much changed forever because Elena has really seen the darkness of Vought and what they're really capable of and what Maeve has been dealing with. The fact that Maeve lets something like this happen, you know, you can see the change that it has in Elena. And again,
also you can, and now she gets why she's been trying to hide her from all of this. Like, she gets it now.
You can see why she's wanted to protect her from all of this. And it just changes that relationship so quickly. And I really loved what they ended up doing there, because now Maeve uses this footage as basically as a liability towards Homelander, which is not what I was expecting her to do. But she really, you know, she has the footage. She can go public at any time she wants to. And I really love where they're headed with Maeve as a character. I think, like you, she's very much becoming one of my favorites. She's one of those characters where she's had so much potential. They've been building up to something big with her. And I think we really did get it this season. And it ended up being one of my absolute favorite arcs. You know, when she's, you know, in this drunken spiral and Starlight ends up saving her. And not only that, she ends up saving Starlight in the penultimate episode. You get the sense that finally her and Starlight are working as a team. It's really great to see because Maeve has always taken on like a mentor type figure towards, you know, Starlight. She's always tried to do what she can to help her out. And now it really seems like those two are working together in tandem. And I feel like it's a really great direction for both of their characters.
Okay, I have one question. Do you think she has multiple copies of that video now? Because there's no fucking... Because there's no fucking way she just has that one copy.
No, I think so.
Because
I watched a video, and I think you might have watched the same video, where someone said, okay, why couldn't Homelander just like shoot the phone and then it would be gone? I don't think it's that simple. I think she's had this footage for a while now. I think the phone is one of her ways to distribute it, but I think, I mean, I would assume she has this footage elsewhere for sure.
Exactly. Like, it's got to be like she has to have at least a bunch of copies of it, because there ain't no way she's just letting it be just this one thing. So, like, I totally agree. It's definitely one of my favorite arcs of the whole season.
Yes, I really liked where they end up going with that. And then going back to Starlight, where she ends up going is probably a very predictable direction, but it's definitely the right direction for her character. We've gotten the sense that she's been veering away from Vought for a while, and pretty much the way things wrap up this season, you know, she's never been more further away from them. You know, she's at a point where she just wants nothing to do with the way that they're doing things, the shadiness of it all, this disingenuousness of it all. It's just something that she just can't deal with anymore. And I loved seeing her in these 4 episodes, especially working so closely with the boys. But I like seeing, say, Butcher and Mother's Milk, welcoming her to the team, actually respecting her in the team. It's a really good shift for these characters and a really different place than when they were in season 1, when they basically viewed her as just someone that Huey should not be fraternizing with, someone that is just as bad as everyone else. Even though Butcher uses the excuse that, oh, she can be seen as, the person guilty for all this, she can clear them of the charges, you get the sense that they all are generally starting to care for her. And I really did like seeing that. It's a really good shift for that character, and her actually being able to have a genuine relationship with Huey. I've always really enjoyed that relationship a lot. And I think where they took her in these last 4 episodes, it's just a really satisfying place for Starlight to be.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I did like seeing her work much more deeply with the boys. And I like seeing that a lot. Like, I enjoyed seeing her work with them, and because at first Butcher is not really all with it at first. I like their bitter, or their bitterness against each other at first, but they start to grow with each other and stuff like that. I really like seeing that a lot, because they're not really up for it at first. They're really like, I don't know about letting this person in, what if she is just like everyone else, you know what I mean? But I think the way that they handled that was really great. And, just like last season, one of my favorite things about this season is her interactions with Huey. I think they're great. I love her interactions with Huey. That's one of my favorite things about the whole show. I think the two have great chemistry, and I really like seeing the relationship, go in a like the scene when Huey's talking about his mother. I really love that scene a lot, because you get the feeling that Starlight does care a lot about Huey. You know what I mean? And
there's some good humor there too, where she just assumes that his mom is dead because he doesn't talk about her. And he's like, no, she's not dead. She left.
And it was and it's just I do like their relationship a lot, honestly. I think it's really great.
Yeah, another great scene from them is in the finale, where she just randomly brings up, why are you always listening to Billy Joel? And I love that. It was a great running gag throughout the season. And it was something that was basically like a season-long arc that we didn't realize. Because yes, every time he's in that car, what is he always playing? A Billy Joel song. And I like
even in the last season, in the last season,
that she always called that she actually did call him out on that. I thought things like that were just really fun, and I'm excited to see where that relationship evolves, because I think it's headed in a really, really fun direction for sure. I'm excited to see what they do with that. So yeah, we get all that stuff. All that stuff is really well done. But the other big thing to really talk about within this, before we get to, of course, the finale of it all, is actually the way the penultimate episode really wraps up, the way things go down there. We have this sequence where it seems like they're going to finally get a way to get out of this. They have this whole meeting with a Church of the Collective. They have this whole meeting with people, and it seems like everything's going great. And then heads start exploding, literally heads start exploding everywhere. And this scene was insane. What did you think of this whole plot twist, Double Nine?
Oh, I was because everything seemed too good to be true. I was like, there has to be something. There has to be something that happens here. I was like, is Stormfront just going to lose it and just kill everyone? There just has to be something, right? And then we see the dude's head explode. I'm like, oh, shit. And then, we just see heads start popping. It's all, almost most of the people in that room, the heads were, popping. And I was just like, what is happening? And then Huey's like, what the fuck do we do now? And it's just it's just it was just so intense. And then the deepest fucking check in his head, he's like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And it was just a great sequence. It was so intense, and so, because you're you don't know what's gonna happen, whose head's gonna explode here, because it's just so much was just happening. And then you're like, what the fuck happens next? Where do we go next in this finale, with this cliffhanger? I think it's really great. I really liked, how, it was the prequel to all the madness. It was already maddening enough, but it was great, and I loved it. That's the way to do a penultimate episode. That's the way, to get people pumped for what's coming. Do a great episode and then get people pumped for the finale. And I think they did that perfectly.
They very much did, because I will say right now, for me at least, the finale is one of the most perfect episodes of television that I have seen in quite some time. I think there are so many things that they do so well within this finale. And really, I mean, I talked to you about this. This finale feels less like a finale for the season and more like a finale for the first phase of the show. There's so much that is wrapped up within this finale, but also does such a great job of introducing the next phase of the show overall. And I really loved the way they ended up going about that. I mean, first of all, the entire arc with what we get with Stormfront as a character, again, they did such a great job in this season of establishing who she is, very quickly exposing her for the Nazi racist she is amazing, the way that they go about that. And what I love about Stormfront as a character is that she really represents the American people very well, because she talks about how, oh, they don't really care, they only care that I'm a Nazi. They still support my views. They still support what I'm saying. And it's like, she might actually have a point there, because we have seen how much they have blindly followed all of these characters for 2 seasons now. I mean, we literally get a scene with Homelander where he takes Ryan to this theme park and everyone wants a picture with Homelander. So I honestly think Stormfront, as crazy as she is, isn't wrong when she's saying the American people, kind of agreed with her views. It was really just that she was this Nazi racist. They're like, okay, we can't support her anymore after that. And it's like, why is that what it took for them to stop supporting her? I think they did a really good job with showcasing that for sure here. And I think the way they conclude things with Stormfront as a character, for now at least, because I do think she is probably going to come back in the next season in some way. I think they did a really good job with wrapping up her character for sure. But what did you think about the conclusion of Stormfront's arc, or at least for now? And do you think this is the end?
No, I don't think this is the end. Look, I know, I don't know if it would be too silly for the show, but I hope she kind of comes back as a Darth Vader kind of thing. Because I imagine if they did some shit like that.
I would not like that. That would
be fucking hilarious. I don't give a shit. That'd be fucking hilarious if they did some shit like that. Man, just some bizarre shit like that. Oh my god. But but the way that they do conclude, because I don't really think this is the end, but the way that they do conclude things for now with their character, I thought was great. Seeing all, the lady superheroes, beating the shit out of her was so satisfying. That was
yes. One of the best sequences of the whole show was seeing those 3 team up.
Oh, the most satisfying sequence of the whole season, in my opinion. Just seeing them beating the shit, you ate my shit, you Nazi bitch. Girls do get it done. It was great. I loved it. It was so awesome.
I saw all these, when that episode came out, I saw all these tweets that are just and they're calling it the girls. And I'm like, this is great. I love this.
Yeah, this is like if the Powerpuff Girls were in an adult modern superheroes franchise. It was great. I loved it. And I just love that. And then when Ryan fries her fucking barbecue chicken.
Oh yeah, okay. So let's get into that though, because we gotta back it up a bit. So we have this whole thing where Ryan is kidnapped by Homelander and Stormfront. Becca's freaking out, and so Butcher kind of works out this deal. You think with what the hell is his name? Giancarlo.
We'll just call him Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito's character. He tries to broker some kind of deal with him, and or Stan Egger, that's his name. Stan Egger. He tries to work out some kind of deal with him, and I did not know if Butcher was going to go through with it. It basically was he wants to be with Becca, and so they would find a way so Ryan would be in their custody, and basically they'd never see him again. And we really didn't know if Butcher was actually going to agree with this, because honestly, while Ryan is a part of his life, he doesn't have much of a relation with him. One of the lines that really stuck out to me is when Ryan first sees him and literally asks Becca, who is that? Like, you realize how little of a relationship Butcher actually has with Ryan. It's really sad to think about, but his best interest, his main goal has always been to be reunited with Becca, to make sure that him and Becca can have a life together. And you're not sure because of that if he's actually going to take this deal. Does he really want to be away from his son, or does he want a life with his son? And I think we knew deep down that Butcher was not going to take this deal. He wants to work something out. And that scene, you knew something was going to go wrong the second that car started flying around, and you knew just something was not going to go right there. Stormfront, very quickly, she goes after, because she flies into the air after all the women have like beaten her up, and she goes after Becca, and you're not sure what exactly is going to happen, but you know something good can't come out of it. You know, Becca is pointing this knife at her. She stabs her in the eye. And what does this do? It finally triggers the rage into Ryan, and he finally gets the eyes that Homelander has been waiting for, and he literally ends up frying all of Stormfront's like internal organs. Her entrails are gone. Like, she is just completely destroyed after this whole thing. And it's great at first, but then we also lose Becca in the process. And I'm not going to lie to you, Double Nine. I didn't realize how attached to Becca I was until this scene, because I started getting pretty teary-eyed at this scene. I almost found myself on the verge of tears at this point, mainly because of just how much we were building up to this. It was one of those things where, in order for Butcher to still be on the show, Becca unfortunately had to die. And it's a very tragic moment for sure. But considering where we were headed, I don't think it's too surprising that we ended up here. But what did you think of this direction?
I thought it was actually handled really well. And like, I was just, because even when that blast did happen, I was kind of like, shit, that was a pretty big blast. I don't, like, so like, I was like,
the way it was edited too, everything just like fades to white, and you're not sure what happened. Like,
yeah, and then you see, and then you see, like,
cinematography.
and you see what?
I said amazing cinematography there.
And then you see Butcher get up. He's like, "What the fuck just happened?" And then you look over and you see fucking Stormfront is just fucking fried, like cooked up, like barbecue. Like, it's just like, and you're like, holy shit. And then, we hear Ryan go, I'm sorry. I'm like, huh? And then we see Becca's like holding her fucking neck. And I'm like, oh shit. And then it's just, like, just the emotion and the acting from them two was just so fantastic. And I just, like you, I almost got teary-eyed. I can't even lie. Like, I was just so emotional. I just felt so emotional with it. And I thought the scene was just so well handled. Like,
I think the best moment of that scene, though, is that you can see immediately Butcher is almost at the point where he's ready to kill Ryan, because Ryan is a soup. And what is Butcher always says? All soups are the same. Soups have destroyed his life forever. And so for him to not do it, mainly just because of Becca's wishes, I think one shows how much he truly did love her, but also shows how Butcher is evolving as a character. He's starting to realize that, like, not all soups are bad. Some of them, some of them aren't as bad as others. Some of them, yes, they were fighting for the wrong cause. Some of them, yes, were with Vought, but some of them know what they were doing was wrong. They're trying to deviate away from that. And I like that Butcher is heading in a direction where he does kind of want to work with Starlight. He does want to work with, Maeve and things like that. I think that's a really good direction for him as a character. And the moment where he is about to kill Ryan, but then ends up protecting him from Homelander, that sequence to me is maybe my favorite favorite scene in terms of acting on the entire show. Homelander and Butcher have no lines in the entire sequence, but it's such a good moment because they're on such similar fronts in that scene. Homelander just went through, he just wailed down all these police officers. He's like covered in blood and things like that. He's ready to tear Butcher apart, and Butcher is ready to finally tear Homelander apart. But what happens? Neither of them do. Neither of them kill each other because at the end of the day, Butcher's going to protect his son, and Homelander wants Ryan to also be alive. And that's the thing that is keeping those two from killing each other. And I think it was just such an amazing scene for both of them. And then what we get with Homelander as well, where Maeve tells him, like, if I release this footage, nobody's ever going to love you. Nobody's ever going to care about you. You're going to have, you're never going to have anyone else again. It's a moment of pure defeat for Homelander. He realizes just kind of how alone he is in that moment. And again, it just leaves both of these characters at such a similar point. Butcher is now without Becca. And so it's like, what is my purpose now? And Homelander is without Stormfront, who was going to give him, that chance back in the spotlight. And so he's also kind of like, what is my purpose now? And so I really loved seeing these two have this scene together. We would expect for it to be this full-on fight scene, but it really does show how the boys is far more concerned with the characters, and I really enjoyed that about this scene for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, and just the way that I just really liked how, like, Antony Starr is just such an incredible actor. He just brings, like, the scene where he's just like laughing. Just like menacingly laughing. I'm just like, God damn, this dude has just lost it. And it's just like, and it's just so great.
And like, in the end where he's just like jerking off all alone, like you get the sense that he truly believes that. Like he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, like it's just scary to think where, like, yeah, sure, he's been crazy throughout these past 2 seasons. I'm just worried of what will happen in the 3rd season with this guy, because it just feels like all hell will be unleashed, and like no one is safe. And I'm very curious to see where that goes, and like, and even where Butcher goes now, because he does get the offer from Madeline.
Mallory,
Yeah, Madeline. Thank you. And like, we can build. You guys can take down other teams, which in the comics, if you knew that's what the boys' main purpose is in the comics, is to take down like other superhero teams. So I'm interested if they will do that in the 3rd season. I'm interested if they will do that, but we'll just have to wait and see with that. But I did enjoy, and it does make me wonder where these characters will go next, honestly.
Yeah, and Ryan being taken away too. It's a really interesting moment for Butcher because, again, he really didn't have that much of a relationship with this kid, but you get the sense that he was starting to. He was starting to grow a small connection there, and it's something where I think Butcher's going to be the thing that keeps Ryan from turning into his father, because that's something that Mallory is so worried about. Even as Ryan is going into that car, she's like, he's not going to be like his father, right? And Butcher's like, we can only hope he isn't. And it's going to be interesting to see where that character ends up going. I don't think this will be the last we see of Ryan. I think we are going to see him again. I think we're going to see whatever he's been up to. And I hope we get like some kind of check-in with Butcher, because I feel like that relationship is going to be a big part of the show now, even though he's away from everyone. If Butcher takes this deal, especially, I think that will give him access to be in Ryan's relationship. The question is that in Ryan's best interest to have Butcher in his relationship? Because again, he doesn't know much about his father. He doesn't have much of a relationship with him. They're in very different spots. There was a lot of his life Butcher wasn't there for. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all goes down, especially knowing that Butcher had such a horrible childhood. You get the sense that he kind of wants to right the wrongs, and I'm excited to see where they end up going with that. But the other thing that we have to talk about is that the boys' team as a whole is kind of done after this episode. Everyone kind of goes their separate ways. You have Frenchie and Kimiko. They're kind of like exploring their relationship finally. Mother's Milk is finally going back to his family after saying he's going to do it for so many episodes now. Mallory finally convinced him, and I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming for sure, because she had this moment with him in episode 6 where she's like, when is it going to be enough? When is this ever going to stop? You know, she tells him, like, it's not going to stop. This is going to keep going. There's always going to be battles to fight. She lost her family. She doesn't want the same thing to happen to him, and that he needs to sacrifice, you know, doing the right thing in exchange for going back to his family. And I think for Mother's Milk, this is absolutely the best direction for him. But we know he's going to get pulled back in there somehow because he
all of them are going to get pulled back in somehow. You know, because there's a reason for it, and we'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that the way that they leave things with basically everyone kind of going their separate ways, but also this organization of the Office of Soup Affairs starting up, which basically is like The Boys, but as Mallory says, it's a more like organized and legal way of doing it. I think is a really interesting idea. It seems like everything is going great. You know, you have this organization in play. You know, Butcher is given this offer. Huey also is given this offer. Victoria Newman is the congresswoman now. However, that's where things get a bit more dicey because, well, you know what? You foreshadowed it, so I think I'm just going to let you bring it up. What ends up happening with the final few minutes of this episode?
So we're getting to the final few minutes. You know, we see Victoria Newman, Victoria Newman. We see her talking on the phone with the with the president of the Church of the Collective, and you know, like we see him. He's about to open up his what the fuck was the drink called again? Frisca or some shit. So he's about to open up, and then boom, his head pops off, and it's like, oh shit, because most of the people figured that the head popping thing was because of the church. That was the main theory when it came to that. But no, we see Victoria Newman's fucking eyes like turn back, and I'm like, oh my god. And when you really think about it though, and this is the great thing about this season, you can go back to certain fucking things and be like, shit, this makes complete fucking sense. Because it's like, and now it kind of makes you wonder, is she just another product of Vought just trying to get more power now? Like, it just
and was that why she wanted to take Homelander down? Was it because he was stealing her spotlight? You know, is it kind of one of those things?
Exactly. It's like, it just makes you think so much. And it's just like, there's so many possibilities now with this. And like, Huey now is fucked. Like, he's now like, dude, because like, it's like, obviously he has no idea, but it's like, shit, man. Like,
yeah.
But like, and that's what I like about that, because this was like, because you know, when it was like getting towards the end, I was like, huh, this is kind of feeling like a series finale, and then that fucking moment happened.
You knew something was going to happen. You know, they already said there was going to be a third season.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is feeling much like a series finale. I know there's a third season coming, but goddamn, then that moment happens, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think it makes perfect sense for them to go in this direction with her because they completely misled us throughout the season. You know, they kind of said that
perfectly.
They kind of said she was like an AOC type character, you know, where she's fighting for justice. She's trying to take down, you know, like the patriarchy and things like that. But in reality, she was the patriarchy.
Exactly. In all reality, she's just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
so not only is she a soup, but clearly she has a far more sinister agenda, and I'm very interested in seeing what that is all about. The other question is, does Mallory also know of this sinister agenda? You know, is she aware of what's going on? And is she on the right side of things? Because I'm inclined to believe she is, but we also thought that with Newman, and apparently she wasn't. So, you know, there's a lot of possibilities for where that can go moving forward. But I thought that it was a very strong way to head into the next phase of the show. Because really, like I said, I do very much view this finale as the end of the first half of the show. This is wrapping up all the major story arcs now. You know, yes, we still have the Seven, but the Seven's in a much different spot than they were. Everyone basically hates Homelander now. Nobody wants anything to do with him. They want him gone. They basically denounced Stormfront entirely. You know, Starlight and Maeve are very much veering away from the Seven. They're just kind of there because they have to be at this point. Starlight was cleared of all charges. The boys were cleared of all charges. They're all kind of going their separate ways. Maeve now has this, you know, she now has this leverage against Homelander. There's a lot of places for where we can go in season 3, and I'm very excited for it. Before we do get to predictions, though, for season 3, there is one lingering story arc that did bring things down for me just a bit. And it's what you're expecting. It's what we talked about in the first 4 episodes. The Deep as a character for me this season, still at the end of the season, I just didn't really feel like anything they did with him was that necessary. A-Train, yes, because he had that evidence against Stormfront. He helped them out, and he even admitted that, like, I'm only doing this because I want to get back into the 7. Like, he hasn't really changed much at all. But to me, at least, it really seemed like the Deep, they just did not know what to do with him this season. And the whole arc with the church and things like that ended up being kind of pointless anyway, since, I mean, the leader's head just got blown up. So I just, at the end of the day, I just didn't really feel all that satisfied by that arc overall. And that's really the one thing that brings this season down for me.
And I can understand that. For me, I enjoyed it more as it was kind of going along. It didn't bother me as much, to be honest. I know when we talked about the first 4 episodes, it did, but it kind of got a little bit better for me. Like I did enjoy a bit more when it came along. It's not my favorite arc of the entire season or anything, but like I still kind of enjoyed it. Like the Deep is just such a fucking idiot that it kind of makes me laugh. So like I don't know, but I kind of got.
No, he is really dumb for sure. I mean,
oh my god, dude, if there was one comedy element that was like the funniest thing of this whole season, it was most definitely him, because it just like the shit that just this guy is just such a bumbling idiot. But but I do understand if someone was like, oh, I didn't really like it. I'm like, I'm not gonna be like. I get it. Like, I know why, like it, but like I said, it wasn't my favorite arc or anything, but I did kind of enjoy it. So, so it didn't really bring down much for me, but I can understand how some people were like, because I did see like more reviews and, like for people that did like the season, the one main thing they talked about that they didn't like was this arc. So like, I get it. Like, I do get it.
Yeah, so that's really the only lingering thing for me that keeps this season from being perfect. As a season overall, though, I think this was really fucking great. It's honestly comes pretty close to the first season. I do think it is just a little bit better than the first season, and mainly because of how it was able to delve into the characters more. We got a lot more with Kamiko. We got a lot more with Frenchie. We got a lot more with, say, even Maeve even. We know who these characters are now and where they're headed into the next season. They've fundamentally changed as people. Butcher's going in a very different direction than we expected. Huey's going in a much different direction. They really have developed these characters in a really great way. And I like that this season, yes, it had some really big action set pieces, like what we got in the finale, but it was mostly character driven. It was mostly focused on developing these characters more and taking them in a direction that was satisfying. So many great moments within this season, which some, stuff as simple as like Starlight now working with the boys and being seen as one of them rather than, a liability of sorts, I think was a really great moment. Something like, say, Butcher realizing that he can't kill his son. He can't just kill every soup. Some of them he needs to keep alive, I think was a really great moment. They're just, stuff in the beginning of the season with Kamiko and her brother. That's the stuff that I really do appreciate about the show. But also the social commentary, we got even deeper in with this season. We got it in season 1, but even more so this season. The way that they touched upon, the way that certain governments are done, the corporations, and really the way that we're all just kind of cogs in a system. Because that's what the boys are at this point. They are cogs. They're in a system that they don't even understand, especially when it comes to Victoria and Newman. And how they're going to be able to break that system, that remains to be seen. But I think the show is really setting that up very well. And I'm excited to see where they do end up going with that moving forward. Again, it really is just that one plot that keeps it from being a truly perfect season of television for me. But I think there was so much that they did well. The acting this season, as always, was just off the charts. Especially, I think the 2 biggest standouts of this season, for sure, are Karl Urban and Antony Starr. They were just on fire this season, especially in that one scene in the finale. So overall, for me, I am going to grade the episodes and the season of The Boys overall. So first, for episode 5, I'm going to give that episode an A. Episode 6, I'm going to give an A. Episode 7 an A, and episode 8 an A plus. And the season overall, I am going to give an A.
Overall, for me, I'm gonna just say I think this is already one of my favorite seasons of television, just in general. I think this just everything. Like, it's rare for a season to almost get better and better with each episode, and like just this season almost did that perfectly. Like, this was just an amazing television season. Just the way that they push forward the characters, push forward with the story is great, and that's what you should do with the second season.
Yes,
push forward your characters, push forward with the story, and that's exactly what this season does perfectly. And I loved pretty much every minute of it. Honestly, like just the way that it develops its characters, just the way that they go forward with the story, the commentary, just it was all perfect. Honestly, and this has honestly evolved into my favorite comic book show just ever now. Honestly, like after this season, to be honest, it just the way that they just handle everything, it's just so perfect. And I really love this season a lot. So for the episodes, I'm going to give episode 5 an A. I'm going to give episode 6 an A+, episode 7 an A, and of course, episode 8 an A+, and of course, the entire season of The Boys season 2 will get an A+ from yours truly.
All right. And other than that, guys, that's really it for this season. I'm really happy that we were able to do these reviews together. I know we did it for The Mandalorian before, and I figured that, you know, since you really do love the show a lot, I thought that I would bring you on. It was really cool to get this show on a weekly basis rather than a bingeable one. I heard a lot of people say that they were annoyed by it, but I actually think it helped this season because
it really did. And I'm glad that they did. Honestly, them making it a weekly show was the best fucking possible thing that they did. Honestly.
Like, if we get the moment at episode 7, I wouldn't want to just go right to episode 8. You know, I kind of like that you have to resist the urge to do that. You have to kind of marinate on like what's going to happen. You know, I think I always say like binging is great. But, you know, after you binge a show, after 2 weeks, you kind of forget about it. And it's like, it gives you more time to marinate on it. It gives you more time to think about what's going to happen. It gives you more time to continue talking about the show, giving the show, you know, gaining more momentum. So I think it was a really good decision for Amazon to do it weekly. And if they're going to do it again for season 3, I am all on board with that for sure.
Same.
But before we do go, Film Fan, just give your outro and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Kevin Falk, for having me on for the reviews for The Boys. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to, you know, do these videos with you and having me talk about all these TV shows, you know, even the shitty Facebook ones. It's always great. Thank you once again. I appreciate it. You can find me on my YouTube channel, FilmFan0599. He's got the whole thing. He's got the whole thing going anyways. But yeah, you can find me on all of that. And thank you once again. And you know, definitely there you go, in a giant news font. There you go. You can check me out on Letterboxd. That's pretty much where I'm the most active, to be honest. You know, where I'm like posting my reviews and stuff. So check it out. And also, you can see my random spiels on Twitter at like 3 a.m. So there you go.
He's really taking advantage of that voice tweet thing. We got yes. Disabled again once and for all because he's not going to stop.
I said it. This was going to be Twitter's biggest mistake.
It already is. It already is. They don't know what they've done, and what horrors they've unleashed. But either way, guys, that's it for our review of this season of The Boys. Again, apologize that this review is late. I'm trying to catch up on things as much as I can. You know, there's a lot of things that I do have to catch up on, but I'm glad that we were able to finally do this. We will be back next week though, because Mandalorian comes back next week, Double 9. So we will be back next week.
Are we actually going to do it weekly this time?
Yes, we are.
Thank God.
Yes, we will be doing it weekly for that show for sure, because we did for season 1 and everyone really loved it. So we're definitely going to be back for that show.
That was honestly some of the most fun times I had last year. So I'm excited. I'm excited to do it again.
Yes, I'm very excited to do that. But either way, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.